very much for having me. I'm really happy to be here to talk about the next great transformation. And so that song was something that I played on repeat, I don't know how many of you did as well, during March of 2020, because it really felt like the end of the world. And yet here we are. We survived. I feel fine. And one of the reasons I feel fine, among many others, is that I think that we're living in the most exciting time for humanity ever. I know that sounds really weird because the world is really screwed up. Oops, I almost. The world's really screwed up right now. There are a lot of problems, and yet there's a lot that we have to look forward to. So for many, many years, Hollywood, where I used to work, that was the four categories were hotels, Hollywood, beverage, alcohol, and technology. That's where I worked. So for many years, I helped contribute to this dystopian vision of the future. This is what Hollywood has been serving up for many, many years. The robots are coming, AI is coming, we're all gonna die, it's gonna be over. The Terminator, we've seen machines taking over. In the movie Ex Machina, I finally figured out how to pronounce it, that is actually a retelling of the old tale of Frankenstein. Can an AI pass for a human being? And the movie that I think is actually the scariest was the movie Her, when the protagonist fell in love with Scarlett Johansson's voice, not a real person. And by the way, for those of you who are wondering, that kind of situation is available today. There is an AI called Replika. Please don't look for it right now, with a K, for those of you who are interested, where you can look for a virtual friend or a virtual girlfriend or boyfriend. Enough said about that. So it's the understatement of this century to say that we are going through incredible, exponential, fast-moving change. Is there anybody in this room that doesn't wake up every day feeling maybe just a little bit overwhelmed? Okay, because otherwise, okay. Well, Matt is going to go into the other room. He doesn't need to be here. But for everyone else, let's talk about some of the exciting innovation that's coming our way. And this is why I'm so excited. We have CRISPR, which is gene editing. We have synthetic biology. We have so many new innovations coming in the field of medicine. No matter where you stand, I think the fact that we had vaccines happen so quickly is something to be really excited about. We humans have this incredible capacity to continue to innovate and to invent. And of course, the biggest change, and we're going to talk a lot about it today, is artificial intelligence. So change is coming, but I think that this world of dystopia, where the robots are coming and they're going to kill us all, I can't promise you it's not going to happen, because it might, but I don't think it's happening anytime soon. And I think also we have a say in it. Let's not forget that they're not just coming to take over. We can actually unplug them. More on that later. So right now, we are living at the very beginning of the fourth industrial revolution. So since none of us were here for the first two, let me define what that means. That means a fundamental change in society, a fundamental change in how we live, in our lifestyle, in our work life, in our politics, in our government, in everything. For those who think that AI and what we're hearing about right now is like crypto or like Web3, and it's just a passing fad, it is not. AI has been here for a while, and this next phase is coming at us really quickly. But I also want to share that while we could and probably should be a little afraid of it, every industrial revolution has done one thing, which is it has resulted in putting the past behind, which meant losing some jobs and creating massive change, but also in creating new jobs and new innovation. And we're at that place right now as we're in this room today. So it's still early, and there's a lot to come. So in the past 30 years, we've seen things like the internet, which fundamentally changed everything because it connected us like never before. We've never been able to connect with anyone in the world in real time. Of course, mobile changed our habits. I bring my phone on stage because I might just need some information while I'm up here. I might get an urgent text, you just don't know. This thing is my best friend. I do have other friends, but seriously, for anybody who has, does anybody not have a smartphone, just out of curiosity? You can leave with Matt. Okay, so I think the smartphone has become basically our second brain, right? Everything in my life is on my phone. And now we have AI, and that's going mainstream as well. Just one interesting thing about the cloud, a statistic I read yesterday, is that in the enterprise, and I'm going to use something that Doug said, 1 out of 4, okay, let's try this, 25%. See, I'm not sounding smart. It doesn't, where's Doug? It doesn't really work. Only 25% of the enterprise is actually on the cloud, which is an interesting statistic. That means 1 out of 4. It doesn't work in this example, but I thought I would try it just for fun. So anybody who tells you, well, I'm a futurist, I do not have a crystal ball, I do not read tarot, I can't tell you what's happening, and anybody who tells you that they know what's coming is full of that. And so the key to looking forward is to look back at where we've been, but more importantly, to look at some of the signals of what's coming. So let's do that. Signal number 1 is really obvious. It's about technology adoption. We have seen a massive change, especially through the pandemic, in the acceptance of digital technology by everyone. My mom, who I just saw in Toronto a couple of days ago, is using Instacart and Uber Eats. It's really crazy. She's 86. So that, to me, basically means that it is mainstream. One of the reasons that we have so much change, but we don't recognize it, is because it's really hard to recognize change. It's happening around us, but we really can't understand it. And there's something else. It's happening so quickly that it's very hard to recognize novelty, right? Every day there's something new. There's the iPhone 15. You know, I have to get a new charger. Like what? There's just so much to keep up with. And then for technology adoption, and anybody who has ever watched The Jetsons, there's something really interesting in that, which is in 1962, a bunch of writers sat in a writer's room, there was no strike back then, in Hollywood, and imagined a world 100 years in the future, so 2062. And this is the world that they imagined. So they saw home fitness, they saw home theater, they saw home computers, they saw tablets and the Apple Watch and the internet and Alexa and information and blah, blah, blah. It's all here. You could see it. Telehealth, holograms, Roomba, 3D printed food, home printers, and even treadmills for dogs. Every single one of these innovations, including many that I didn't have on here, like the fact that you can actually swallow a pill camera, they all were created by people who were not technologists or innovators. They were just created by people with imagination who spent their time thinking about, wow, what kind of world could we create? What kind of magic? How can we make people's lives better? And I often wonder, and I think this is the power of marketing and the power of storytelling and even the power of Hollywood. We have the power, all of us, to shape the future. I know that sounds like hoity-toity, but it's actually true. We actually shape people's perceptions. So here are just some statistics to look at how quickly change has happened. I'm not going to read them, right? The internet obviously has exploded. 90% of the global population is going to be on the internet, online, in 7 years. Smartphones, incredible penetration of smartphones throughout the world, including throughout the third world, which again means that people are connected to each other. Social media. Some of us may wish it was never invented, But we're almost going to be at 6 billion people with their heads down taking selfies. I mean, really good use of all of our time. The other crazy number that I came across is the fact that data is exploding. And I have to read this because it's such a big number that I can't even get my head around it. But the fact that we have so many mobile devices, we have sensors and smart endpoints, they're generating constantly more and more data. So if anyone, I met a data scientist last night. Maybe he can explain what a zettabyte is. Is he here? He actually didn't show up because he knew I was going to call on him. So a zettabyte is 1 million terabytes or 1 trillion gigabytes. That's a lot of zeros, an awful lot of zeros. So simply, it means that 1 billion, so 1 billion, 1 terabyte hard drives, how big are those? I don't know, would be needed to store 1 zettabyte of data. So it is basically, to a layman like myself, just an awful lot of data. We keep hearing this a lot. Data is the new oil. The question is how to use it. The other interesting statistic that I came up with is artificial intelligence and how quickly it's generating new stuff. So AI has produced 15 billion images between in the last probably 10 years, so until 2022, and generative AI is creating more and more images. You could see that it took the world of photography 149 years to create that many images. So when I say exponential growth, I mean it. Doug, I don't know how to build the statistics into that, but I think that's pretty impressive by itself. So let's start with the 800-pound gorilla, which is AI. So AI is going to affect all of our lives, whether you're looking at me going, I don't think so. Come talk to me in a year. That's how quickly it's happening. So let's talk about some of the myths, and let's get them out of the way. Number one, it's new. Nope. The term artificial intelligence was coined in 1956, so not new at all. We've had artificial intelligence and people working on it since then. That was a long time ago, 68 years? AI can understand things and think like a human. This is actually our fault. We keep trying to tell people that the AI, that we should talk to it like a human, that it's our friend. That's the whole Scarlett Johansson example from the movie Her. But let me tell you something. An AI is a thing. It's not a person. It has no feelings, and it doesn't think. So for all of the people who are saying they're going to come and kill us, they're not, like, it's not real. So it's not sitting around going, gee, what should I do today? Let me kill all the people. Not happening, at least not yet. AI is going to replace all the jobs. Absolutely not. It's not going to replace my hairdresser, my makeup artist, my dentist, frontline people, but it will replace some jobs, and it will be a part of all of our jobs. But we're not at this apocalyptic place, so let's just relax a little bit. AI will soon have human-level intelligence. Well, first of all, living in the United States, I'm a Canadian. Human intelligence? Yeah. Okay. Do we really want it to have human intelligence, or do we just want it to augment our lives, to make our lives better, and to take away all the crappy things that we don't really want to do? Now, there are many people in Silicon Valley and at all the big companies who are working towards this. This is why the government is threatening to get involved. That's called artificial general intelligence. And what that means is that a machine will outsmart us. We probably should stay away from that. So when you start hearing about AGI, artificial general intelligence, that's when you can get a little bit scared. And then this idea that AI is going to wipe out humanity. I mean, maybe, There's a great story that I heard. I think it was Yuval Noah Harari, if any of you have heard of him. That's an amazing book, Sapiens and all his other books. And he tells the story of how artificial intelligence works. So basically, you feed it lots of information. So let's say we want to fix the climate crisis, right? If you want to fix the climate crisis, you go to an AI and you say, you are God, and you get to fix the climate crisis. What would you do? You feed it all the information from the news, and what does the news tell us? It tells us that we humans are destroying the planet. Now, if I'm the AI, I can't really think, but I'm predicting what could happen. What's the solution? Kill all the humans. That is actually how you solve the climate crisis, right? But let's hope we're smarter than that. So this is not a conversation about all of these different things, but I think there are a lot of words being thrown around. So AI basically takes information and data and turns it into knowledge. Machine learning, that we hear a lot about, that many of you are involved with, basically is a subset of artificial intelligence. And deep learning, just to throw more buzzwords out at you, here you go, is actually created using neural networks. That's the end of that part of the speech. So why is this happening right now? What is happening in our world that's making all of this come up and rise up? The first is that for the first time, computational power is getting cheaper. It's just more available. We've never been able to do this before. We talked about this. Data is the new oil. We have open source frameworks that we've never had before. Again, if you cut down the cost, more people are going to use it. It's kind of obvious. And then we have way more sophisticated algorithms to take all this data and to plug it into the open source networks and to do something with it. And that's what we get. We have two types of AI. Traditional AI, which all of you have been using, unless you're not alive in 2023, and you're part of one of the zombie movies that I used to make, but hopefully not. And so Maps, Facebook, TikTok. Hello, Siri.
Hello, Anat. How can I help?
This is artificial intelligence. Okay, not so much so. See what I mean? She's always sorry. Generative AI is very different. Generative AI is, for the first time, and this is why it's so exciting. When I talk to Siri, she's trying really hard, God bless her, and so is Alexa. But half the stuff she comes up with is completely useless. What's really interesting about generative AI is I am having a conversation with a machine, but I'm having a conversation with a machine. I am using human language to talk to it, and it generates back, whether it's words or images or video. That has never been available before. What generative AI has done is hack human language. If you remember nothing else from today, that is the most exciting and scary thing about artificial intelligence. So we've all heard about ChatGPT, so I just thought I would throw up what GPT stands for. And all of these models that are coming out, and I'm just going to show you a quick example of them, are all called large language models because, like I said, they talk to us like we talk to them. So ChatGPT launched on November 30th, 2022. I think for anyone in marketing, it was mind-blowing, kind of changed the landscape overnight. And it took 2 months for it to get to 10 million users. Threads did that back in July. Is anyone here still on Threads? Is anyone here? Wow. Mark would be really sad. But the reason it was easy for Threads to get there was because it was built on Instagram. So the fact that this grew so fast means that there is a desire to adopt technology and to make it useful for so many of us. I mean, this is the fastest growing app ever in history. So for those of you who have never seen this, so how many of you have tried, be honest, have tried ChatGPT? And for those of you who haven't, why not? Anybody? That's all right, we won't judge. You haven't needed to. Okay, interesting. So for those of you who have not used it, let's show this real quick. So it's not really that mysterious, right? This is ChatGPT 4.0, which I do spend $20 a month on, and after today I'm canceling it, and I'll explain why in a second. So this is the plus version. It's elite. And I asked it a question. What is the future of customer experience in an AI world? And by the way, if you can't see it all, don't worry. We're going to give you copies of the slides later, so don't strain your eyes. So it said, the future of customer experience in an AI world. It gave me a huge list of potential uses, like personalization at scale, predictive analysis, 24/7 customer support, and wait, there's more, emotion recognition, enhanced data security. But I want to tell you something. A lot of people think this information is crap. It's just ideas for you to consider. The AI is not human. It's just taking lots of information and summarizing it and trying to give you ideas. Here are some more generative AI models. So we have ChatGPT, which was created by OpenAI, which was first. Then we have Bard from Google. I am not affiliated with any of these. And if you want to ask me later what my favorites are, I'm happy to share. We have Bing from Microsoft. And the reason I'm canceling ChatGPT Plus is that Bing is built on ChatGPT 4, and it's free. So cool. Then we have Claude, which is another new entrant. It's actually fantastic. And it's made by a company called Anthropic. And you're going to hear a lot about all of these, which is why I'm sharing it with you. And Claude 2, which is their latest version, is actually built by people who left OpenAI. And we might talk about this later, because they felt that their morals and values weren't met. And so they're trying to create a value-driven AI. And then my new favorite, Perplexity AI. Can't say that 3 times fast. So then I went to Claude 2, and I asked, what can marketers do to embrace AI to improve the customer experience? I'm not good at making straight lines. Sorry about that. It said things like use chatbots, leverage AI for predictive analysis, use AI-enabled voice assistants, leverage AI for better content creation. It also told me, at the very end there, I'm going to read it, to view it also told me to remember that oh no, this is my note to myself. I don't know what I'm reading. It told me that the key for marketers is to not trust all the information that they see, but really to use it as you see fit, using your wisdom and your brain. So I think that for everybody who is looking at getting into making AI part of their jobs or part of their lives, the answer is to make it an enabler and not a replacement. It's not replacing you. It's just giving you information and making you better. And also remember, as you use all these different large language models, that they're each trained on different models. And so a lot of times you're going to get different answers. So it's really good, like with everything else, right? We Google things, but we don't just go to the top search result. We look for more information. So everyone is scared right now that their job's going to be gone, right? Let's admit it, right? I'm going to be replaced by a hologram. I don't know what each of you think about your job, but here's the reality. The key right now is to learn to incorporate, to use AI in your job. I really believe this, and we hear it a lot, right? That the AI is going to replace us. No, the AI is going to replace somebody who is not using AI. So I really encourage everyone to jump in. It's very early, it's kind of scary, but if you're not going to use it, it's like back in 2007 when people like, oh, Twitter is so stupid, Facebook is so stupid. Today, if you're not on social media, you do not exist. Are there any people who don't exist in the room? Is anybody here not on social media? Again, no judgment. Right? Oh, who's that person who's not on social media? Why not? Not waste your time. Do you work? Are you on LinkedIn? Okay, so I consider that social media. So I think that the idea is, and something else to share with everyone here, so in a year from now, when I'm going to a meeting, I'm not going to go to Google to search for you or to LinkedIn. I'm just going to ask one of my AI friends, my digital assistant, oh, I'm going to a meeting with so-and-so. What can you tell me about them? If you're not out there, if there isn't information about you, you really don't exist. It's really important to make sure that people know what you're about, because we're going to become increasingly reliant on using AI for every part of our lives. It's not going to be Yelp, right? It's going to be the next phase. It's not going to be people who can't spell and write who we take restaurant recommendations from. So this is an example of a coder and how long it takes them to do their job without AI, and how they can do their job in 55% less time by using AI. This is the future. And coders, by the way, every single coder I know is already using AI to be more productive. This is kind of scary, because the reason you can't see the AI assistant on the right and how long it takes them is because it takes them no time. So for creative folks, yeah, I mean, it's really important to learn how to use the AI to be more creative. So far, their stuff isn't so great. I thought a lot about this idea of prompt engineering. And prompt engineering is basically how we talk to the AI. And here's the best way to explain it. You know how we teach people how to communicate with each other? We send people for training courses. There are 1 million webinars that you can take on how to communicate. The most important skill that you can build right now is how to talk to an AI. Prompt engineers make a lot of money. The average salary right now, and go ahead, Google it right now, it's $300,000. It was on the news a couple of weeks ago that Netflix had a job for $900,000. My neighbor who works for Netflix said, no, it's up to $900,000. But still, that's an awful lot of money to talk to a machine. But it is really about how we communicate. Great questions beget great answers. So, what should we be worried about? Is AI good or bad? So let's give it some context. So unlike the printing press, or radio, or television, or the internet, which distribute ideas or content, AI can actually help you generate new ideas. Think about that for a second, right? When you're watching TV, it's one way. You could yell at the TV, you can tell the guy that, you know, he should have scored a different goal, whatever. Whatever you're yelling at the TV for, political debate, but AI can actually generate new ideas. And that's part of that prompt engineering and the communication that you have with the AI. So here's an example of how to get it right. It's really important to focus on the data inside the model. So if you ask your company AI to set up, actually, this is the question you're going to ask it. Is Taylor Swift available at 9 a.m.? And so if your AI knows that you've named your conference rooms after female performers, it's going to get it right. But otherwise, it has no idea what you're talking about, and it's going to tell you that Taylor Swift is not available because they're crawling the internet and realizing that she's in a different city that day. So it's really important to think about what you tell it for it to give you the same right answers. This is the creepiest thing I'm going to show you today, just giving you a proviso. So I read about this new avatar company that was starting, and I decided to sign up for their website launch. And so I'm going to play the clip.
Thank you for your interest in our video creation feature. We appreciate your enthusiasm, and we'll get back to you soon. By the way, this is an automated video message generated with my avatar. Hope you enjoy it, and we look forward to talking soon.
So I literally signed up, for this beta, and within 4 seconds, count 1, 2, 3, 4, I got this email. Imagine when people talk about personalization and they talk about the future of marketing, imagine how great, a little bit creepy, you can do. And I promised Jason, I actually created my own last night. It's wild. It is really amazing. I have, again, nothing to do with this company. It's called HeyGen, but this is just the beginning of what we can do with personalization. Imagine what you can do. So let's put AI over here for a second, right behind there. It's not the only technology that's impacting our lives. We also have augmented reality. And augmented reality is basically, I'm in the space and I see things around me. Basically like she's seeing, right? She's seeing other things. If you've seen the movie Minority Report, you know what I'm talking about. So it basically makes digital alterations to the world that we're in. I'm going to make one prediction today, even though I said I wouldn't, and that is that in the next 5 to 7 years, these things are going to be replaced by this. We're all going to be walking around with smart glasses and some sort of ear piece. I don't know what it's going to look like. It's just early, and this is the first attempt. And this is really interesting. This is the new Vision Pro from Apple that was launched a few months ago. It's supposed to roll out in January, I believe, $3,499. The interesting thing about it is that you can see the person's eyes. We've never seen that before. So this is actually called mixed reality, and this is what you're going to be able to do using that. You're actually going to be able to watch movies in that environment. That is the future. And I'm not planning to buy it. I think it's very early. But with Apple, as you know, every time they launch a product, they're starting a category and they keep making it better. We have virtual reality. A lot of money has been spent on virtual reality. It's not going away. But the problem with virtual reality is that, like you see in the photo, you have people who are finally, after a global pandemic, getting together in a room, and they're putting on a headset that separates them from each other. Lots of use for this for people, for example, who are disabled, in training, but I don't think that this is the future. We've heard a lot about the metaverse, and we joke about it. I still think that the metaverse is going to exist, and meetings like this will take place in real life, like right here in person, but also on the metaverse. It's just that I don't personally believe in Mark Zuckerberg's version of the metaverse where we're all running around with just distended parts of our bodies. I don't know, it's just a little weird. But I think that the future of work is going to be more digital and more virtual. The blockchain and Web3, like the metaverse, I think have kind of fallen out of favor. But here's the thing. AI is going to come into all of those worlds and transform them. So AI is coming in to sit underneath all of these new technologies. And they will be making a comeback because they all have very specific use cases. We just can't see them yet. And we are experiencing, like I said at the very beginning, a time of exponential change. So put your seatbelt on and get ready. The second big signal that we've all seen because of the first signal, because of technology adoption, that all of a sudden we have in the last, especially since the iPhone, so like 15 years, we have empowered consumers. I want what I want, when, where, and how I want it. That is what every consumer wants, and that's up to us to deliver. So today, we have consumers in control. We have consumers who demand frictionless experiences. Absolutely. We have everything on demand. You want a private jet? I have my phone. I can order it for you. I'm just not going to pay for it. You want a masseuse to come to your home. Whatever you want is available on demand. That has never existed in the history of humanity. And the reason it exists is because of the App Store and the fact that there is an app for everything and that I have it in my hands all the time. Imagine a world where you just do this or speak, and that's all you have to do, or go like this, and whatever it is magically appears. We're moving into that world. I know I sound crazy. You're looking at me like I am. And then today, everything is social. So except for the lady in the back who happily is on LinkedIn, everything is social. There are no secrets. Everything's transparent. And guess what? Consumers demand authenticity because everything is transparent. Talk to politicians. Talk to Russell Brand. We know everything. We also are living in this very strange time where the phone, the smartphone, allows us to have instant transactions. And at the same time, in America today, according to the Surgeon General, we have a loneliness epidemic. And so as brands and as companies, we have to find a way to, while we're still working on those transactions and selling all the time and closing deals, at the end of the day, what's going to separate the humans from the AI are those relationships. And so we have to find that balance. Loyalty, from a consumer standpoint, sadly, for those of you who are in insurance in particular, is kind of dead. And loyalty in general, loyalty to an airline. What Delta did this week, if any of you are Delta frequent flyers, not so good, right? Am I staying loyal? Probably not. I'm going to find somebody else. And so that's something that's really hard to make stick today, is this idea of loyalty. But the combination of all of these things can help that. The one thing that actually helps loyalty, and it doesn't really make that much sense, is creating communities. If social media has done one good thing for brands, it has helped them create online communities. Whether you look at the beauty industry or any other industry, community is actually the answer, and it's the future in an AI world. So I'm going to ask this question. I do this every time I speak. What's the largest emerging market in the world? And somebody will give you a T-shirt if you get it right. And anybody who's heard me speak before, you cannot answer. Largest emerging market in the world. Is everybody awake? Hello? Africa. Cosmetics. I thought somebody was going to say Barbie. So I'll spare you all the going back and forth. The largest emerging market in the world is women. Can I have all the women in the room stand up, please? So I want all of the men to look around. And the reason I had all the women stand up is because women are the future. Women are the future. And I want to tell all of the men that as we take over the world, we're going to be just as nice to you as you've been to us. Thank you very much. Please have a seat. So today, women are empowered. They have financial resources. And we're not all the same, by the way. I always love it when marketers just look at women as this homogeneous group, right? Not all men are alike. Not all women are alike. This is from the Wall Street Journal from last month. Women owned the summer. Has anyone here seen Barbie? Any men? Thank you to the men who saw Barbie. Very evolved. But between Barbie and Taylor Swift, who created an earthquake when she was in Seattle, did you read about that? That was pretty crazy. And Beyonce, these women generated more money into the American economy than anyone else. So don't forget that, and start thinking about women as a consumer base. And for the men in the room again, and I'm going to give you a quick example from my life. I used to work in the hotel industry, and I had the CEO of Radisson Hotels come to me and say, I figured out how to attract women business travelers. We're going to give them their own floor. We're going to give them makeup mirrors in the room and skirt hangers. Did you research that? Did you talk to any women? Why do you think it's going to be great? No. How many women here want their own floor with skirt hangers and makeup mirrors? I mean, seriously, like, make us equal. So ask questions and get women involved as you're figuring anything out. And again, not blaming anyone, just giving you an example. So I worked in the hotel industry. That was a transition I had not counted on. And in the hotel industry, we had these things called moments of truth. It's my favorite thing that I got about consumers in my entire career. And a moment of truth is every interaction that a hotel guest had with the brand or the hotel. So from the time they made the reservation until they got their bill when they were home. The interesting thing about moments of truth is we now have to adapt it to an online world. And we're going to have moments of truth between human to human, but more often than not, human to machine. Then maybe there's a human involved, back and forth and back and forth. And we really have to think about every single micro point in that journey in order to be successful and in order to get the customer and keep the customer. That is actually the future. It's community plus really planning out that entire journey. And all of it at the end of the day leads to trust. How do we get consumers to trust us? Change number 3. Today, after decades of globalization, we are seeing that the world is becoming distributed. We have distributed supply chains. Work has become distributed. We're seeing the biggest change in work in 100 years. Who would have believed that some companies would have fully remote workforces? Who would have believed that they would have hybrid workforces? Who here goes to the office or wants to 5 days a week, right? The world has changed fundamentally. Today also we have 5 generations working together. We've never had that. As the traditionalists and silents, I'm sure they love being called that, move out, we're going to have Gen Alpha come into the workforce. So you can find yourself in there. I will not ask for hands. It's okay. And by 2025, basically, millennials are going to rule. 3 out of 4 employees, Doug, are going to be millennials. Do I sound smart? So I saw this and I thought I would share it, which is who performs basic skills better? Is it humans or AI? Basically, AI, starting in 2010, has been able to learn faster than we are. This should not make you feel bad. We just have a mind. AI has access to so much more information and so much more processing power. Of course, it's going to do a better job. So the word of the future is going to be flexibility. Flexibility in technology, flexibility at work. This number is really scary. 40%, so 4 in 10, God, this is so good, of the global workforce is going to need to be reskilled. It doesn't mean they're going to lose their jobs. And remember, for all the jobs that are going to be lost, we are going to have new jobs. Let's take social media as an example. We now have influencers. I don't know if that's a good job or a bad job or if any of us think that should have actually ever happened, but we have influencers and social media managers, and we have entire companies that have been built on as digital agencies, right? None of these things existed before. We also have, and this was something interesting also from the hotel industry, distributed leadership, where companies are changing how they work, how they're stratified, but also the answer is when you do have a human who's interacting with another human, give them the power to make decisions. And the thing that is the scariest of all, a lot of scary things in here, is this battle for attention. So let's ask this question. How many of you, it's now, what time is it? 10:18. How many of you have checked your phone since 9 a.m.? For those of you who haven't, what have you been doing? Okay. How many of you have checked your phone since you've been in this room? And how many of you have checked your phone, be honest, since I've been up here on stage? Thank you so much for your attention. I think we're done here. So we went from a time of information scarcity, where some of us used to have to go to a place called the library. We can talk about that later. Today, all information is available right here. All knowledge. We can talk about the future of education, and if any of you have kids, what that's going to look like. I have actually done this myself, this exercise. I ran out of paper to make my little marks. Yeah, I check my phone on average about 200 times a day for emails. And this is why we have no attention span. This happens every single minute on the internet. When you get your deck at home, look at it. It's really kind of scary. The average person, 7 hours online, 2.5 on social media, except for you. I don't know. What do you do with your spare time? I want to talk to you later. And 1.5 hours a day on TikTok alone. The key to the future is differentiation. That's really the key. How can you break through all this noise, again, how do you break through that? And the only way to do it, and that's where, by the way, TikTok has been amazing, is people have figured out how to stand out. If you're going to be the same, sameness will not win the day. So today, time used to be our currency. Today, it's attention, and it is the hardest thing to do. So what does all of this mean? Well, ChatGPT opened up a new era, especially for marketers. Content creation, writing, creating images, videos. What does it all mean? I want to show you something else that I found from 1993. So I'll do the math for you, 30 years ago.
Have you ever kept an eye on your home when you're not at home? Or gotten a phone call on your wrist? You will. And the company that'll bring it to you, AT&T. Your true voice. Have you ever opened doors?
I'm home.
With the sound of your voice? Our card, please. Carried your medical history in your wallet. Your wife's gonna be just fine.
So this is where we stand on the atrium.
Or attended a meeting
I really like what you guys have been doing, but
in your bare feet.
I may have a few other ideas.
You will. And the company that'll bring it to you, AT&T.
So 30 years ago, AT&T predicted the future, like the Jetsons. Don't be AT&T. If you have ideas, implement them now. Don't wait, because there are 6 of these ads, and like the Jetsons, everything in them was prophetic, except I don't understand why they never went out and started to create these things. They were a communications company, for God's sake. Also, don't do this. So what can you do? First of all, this is why you need to pay attention to artificial intelligence. And let's call it actually augmented intelligence, because it's just going to make your life better. So these large language models are going to be the way you talk to every computer. That's it. There are not going to be any other interfaces. That is how you're going to communicate. So if you don't like it, tough crackers. Oh, I missed a few. You can read them. This is the evolution of customer experience is also changing. This is from a recent survey that I found, 5 key themes of how customer experience is going to evolve from now until 2030. So everything is changing, and you need to be part of it. Here is what you can do. Take action. Look at AI. Develop a plan. Create a data plan. Really important to have clean data, or else AI fails every time. And then create the right technology and people plan. And like I said before, AI basically takes data and information and creates knowledge. We all have access to the same knowledge. The reason you're still going to need people is we create the insights, right, from the information, from the data, and we also provide the wisdom from our experience. So what can you do? This is my very favorite quote in the whole world right now, which is, knowledge is knowing tomato is a fruit, And wisdom is knowing not to put it in the fruit salad, right? And that is why we humans are going to be okay. So in this fourth industrial revolution, the best thing we can do, the most important thing we need to do, is be human. And we're going to live, and it's starting right now, in a human plus machine world. So we're all going to be powered by AI. And no, Elon Musk is not putting a chip in our hand or in our brain. It actually doesn't need to. But we need to build the following skills. Curiosity, asking lots of questions. That's the key, right? Looking at the world and asking questions. And by the way, also asking questions of the AI. Don't believe everything you read. Your mother taught you that. Creativity. We humans have the ability to be creative. Machines can't be creative. They can come up with ideas, but they're not terribly creative because they're not original. Compassion is something we humans only have. Collaboration is something else that computers do not do. And connection and community are another thing that's going to differentiate us from everyone else. These are just pretty slides that basically show you each one of them. So ultimately, do not let the past get in the way of the future. Here is my information. If anybody wants to get in touch with me, feel free. Follow me on LinkedIn, on any social network, and then I'll follow you for sure. We can be in touch. Yeah, sorry. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Actually, we're going to have a quick Q&A up here. But I want to share one last thing, which is the reason that I am so excited about the future is because I have spent my entire life, or at least since I've been watching the Jetsons, waiting for a flying car. This is a real flying car that last month got approval from the FAA to start testing. It's made by a California startup called Aleph Aeronautics, and it's the first fully electric vehicle that could drive and fly. If you're thinking how much does it cost, I want one, it's $300,000. So the future is here. It's actually here. Let's take advantage of it. Thank you very much for your attention.